Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. You're beautiful, man. I appreciate you guys stopping by. It's better to feel better today. Got back from a little vacation time, hung out with some capybaras and dolphins in the Gulf, and, I got to be honest with you, I did not feel fantastic yesterday. My nose was dripping like a faucet, and look at this thing. So, I mean, it was almost like a hydrant on leak yesterday, trying to throw some content together for you guys. Feel 100 today. Feel good. Bam Adebayo today. He had his camp go on. Bam. Shout out to the captain. Always doing great work in the community. One of the things that's truly been passed on from Udonis Haslam to Bam Adebayo has been his work that he does in the community. I do think that, all result stuff aside, he, Tyler Hero, these guys have done some good things in their mark with Miami. But Bam today had his camp for his foundation, and that meant that he was going to speak to the media for a little bit. I saw his clip on social media with Heat admin that was asking what his favorite part of the summer has been, and he said it was Greece, hanging out with the GOAT, and hanging out with his teammate, Jaime Jaquez Jr. I noticed who he didn't say, old Laker boy, Luka Doncic. He didn't say him. Bam's already got a favorite Slovenian. His name's Gogi. Anyway, the big things that he touched on, this is from Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald, was on Norman Powell. And he says, I think it's a very good shakeup for our team. There's a different dynamic to it. I feel like Norman is one of those guys that floats under the radar. But you saw this last year that he's really shown he can be an all-star caliber player. And you've seen what he's done. You've seen him grow in this league, and obviously he wants to take that to take the next challenge. The next challenge is being with the Heat, so I'm happy to have him. Ringing endorsement, it seems like, to have Norman. I am curious to see what this dynamic does bring to the Heat. Obviously, it is something. It is funny. Norman Powell almost strikes me as like the perfect Heat additive because, yes, he is not a star. It is not the sexiest name. It is under the radar. It feels very much like the Miami Heat. It feels all the way like the Miami Heat in that you're like, yeah, what is this going to bring? But maybe it's just a better basketball player and brings more of that dynamic to this team. And so I'm hopeful that, yeah, that is something that makes Bam Adebayo's life easier, that does help this team out. I hope that, he can get back to who he was defensively as well. I'm excited to see what that challenge is like, to just be a complete pain in the ass playing next to somebody like Davion Mitchell. Can that bring that dog back out in Norman Powell and what he was in his Toronto days when he was really trying to get his bones and make it in this league? I'm curious to see what that brings, and I'm hopeful that for this Heat team, it's something electric. And certainly, obviously, the guy's one of the best shooters on the planet. The Heat have two of the best shooters on the planet, and he and Tyler Hero. Maybe can get the stagnation out of this offense a little bit and jolt some life into it. That's definitely needed. Bam also talked about Duncan Robinson and how much he'll miss him. He says, I'm going to miss, he talked about him and Kevin Love. He said, I'm going to miss them, obviously, because Duncan was here for 8 years. I had that connect, and having that connection was special. K-Love was a leader that could speak to somebody from a championship level and could encourage a younger group and be an example and bridge the coaches and the players. Going to miss them both. I'm glad we had the time that we did. It was helpful for my growth and my development as a player and as a captain. It is going to be strange going to Heat games next year and not seeing Bam Adebayo warm up with Duncan Robinson. That is truly going to be an odd thing. Those guys were attached to the hip. Those guys had chemistry that was second to none. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be a strange thing not to see that duo out there working out together and seeing them side by side. Because, always seemed like, even just their warm-ups of like Bam having to do his layup drill and Duncan Robinson wanting to shoot till it was over. And he didn't get to start till he missed because he didn't want to sit around and wait and not shoot because Bam Adebayo had to do his layup drill. I'm going to miss that stuff. Those are going to be the things that I miss with this team, and Duncan's certainly going to be missed for this team. He was also talking about Davion Mitchell, and this is from Ira Winderman in the Sun Sentinel. Davion being back, we've been missing somebody that could really play on-ball defense. Says having him come in and be the guy to understand his role. I'm looking forward to him being here a full year and all of us being together and getting to know one another and turning it more into a brotherhood, we were kind of disconnected a little bit, trying to figure out everybody's role and trying to figure out everybody's style of play. But now we're going to have a good training camp and then go from there. This has certainly been a thing the Heat are buying into, is that they have not had enough time together, that they were put together as like a mishmash last year, bringing in Andrew Wiggins and kind of hoping Andrew Wiggins was going to be like a duck to water. He had too many injuries. Maybe the guard was let down a little bit of not having the Jimmy headache there after, being in the chaos of all of the Jimmy stuff and then letting your guard down, almost let the Heat down. And you could certainly talk yourself into a lot of things. The most positive person could be here and be like, hey, Miami, so many uber clutch games, buzzer beater losses, last minute losses, fourth quarter erasers. But is it also one of those things that could also continue? Like, could the Miami Heat be in a place where their fourth quarter woes are not something that are of the past? Does Spo find a better way to stagger that stuff? Are they deeper? Yeah, I think they certainly seem like they have more depth. I think that they do seem like they have more depth. There is no doubt about that. But what is that depth ultimately going to turn into once they get to a playoff series? And that's the other thing. There's also a dynamic of this Heat team where they certainly need to have a much better regular season. These regular seasons have been painful to get through, with all of the close losses, the injuries, the ins, the outs. If they could put a better flow together and find that cohesion and collectiveness, then yeah, I think that there's certainly some hope. Maybe you put yourself in a better position to get into the playoffs. Maybe you're not fighting against the number one seed, and you could kind of get some rounds in under your feet. I think that would help somebody, especially like Tyler, who, all of the pressure really feels like it's on him for postseason success, right? And, he's always having to go up against like the Cavs, the Celtics. So if Miami could aim for something in a thin East that's fully, that's not fully healed, and doesn't have all its stars about it. I know that we're already getting into Jason Tatum's going to ride in on his white horse to save the Celtics in the middle of the season. Believe it when I see it. And even if that is the case, that's not an easy thing to just drop in and to be like, hey, all of a sudden, guys, the number one star is here to save the day of all of Boston's woes. I don't think that's an easy thing either. But you're hopeful that roles can be established, everybody knowing where their place is, and also some competition. I think that this is a Heat team that has a roster, probably outside of the power rotation, but you think about the guards, the wings, that there can be a little bit of a battle of like, hey, who's going to get this? Who's going to get that? Could this guy earn this? Could that guy push the other person to get themselves in a better spot? I think there could be some level of that too, where, it's Jaime and Keshad, and it's Pella, and it's Davion, and it's Yakachonis. And I think that we'll see who ends up getting the starting gig between Jovic and Ware. Like, all of those things I think can end up being a positive element to it. And then, yeah, you do need, I don't know if you need Tyler Hero to take another step, but you certainly need him to be in a place where, he can handle being the guy all year long and not just, hey, I'm going to be 1A to Jimmy. Jimmy's not here now. And there's no blindsidedness for Tyler. And then Bam, man, I mean, he has to get off to a much better start than he did last year. I do think that some things really did come together for him in the second half of last year, especially after the All-Star break. A lot of his numbers were impressive. He was back to being, almost a 21. I think he was 21-9 after the All-Star break last year. The 3-point shot was there. But man, that start was so putrid for him offensively that it's kind of been put on like this stain of a season for him that wasn't good enough because the start was so bad. And I'm curious to see how he takes those, how he takes that going into this year, because a lot of people saying, yeah, this guy's plateaued. He's not the same player. He's not going to be, there's no more, he's 28 years old. Any hope that he's going to be that guy is dead. And I'm still hesitant on it. And I know that can be accused of holding too much stock in Bam Adebayo and thinking that, but he did unveil a new weapon last year. And, while the touch around the rim was concerning, especially early on in the season, it did feel also like a bit of an anomaly. And I'm not ready to just say, Bam Adebayo has forgotten how to get, make layups and jump hooks and all that. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense that he'd be better at the more difficult shots and he can't make the easy ones. But it's certainly going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting high pressure year for him because, people are already wondering, with the foundation of the Heat built on Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and how sustainable that is. So he's going to have a lot of pressure of that he's going to face this year as well. But he does seem like he's fairly excited with the new pieces that he's got to help them succeed.